Entitled mother thinks my son's birth is her special day, so I ghosted her on her special day. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications. Okay, so the entitled parent in this story is my mom. Back in April of this year, my wife had our baby. During that time, COVID was still rampant and restrictions were still strict. The hospital rules were that my wife was allowed to have 2 people on file that could visit her, but only one could be in the hospital at a time. Being her husband and the father of the child, she obviously chose me as her first support person, and then she chose my mom as her second. My wife was high risk, so she planned to have a C-section. Prior to the operation, I texted my mom, getting ready to go back to the operating room, say a quick prayer. Then I went back with my wife. She ended up losing a lot of blood during the surgery, so her recovery took a really long time. Several hours before I was even allowed to see her. During my wife's recovery, I was in the nursery with the baby making sure that everything was okay with him. About an hour into my wife's recovery, a nurse comes in and says, "Hey, there's someone on the phone asking for you. Can I transfer them over?" I say sure, and the phone in the nursery rings, so I answer it. Hello?
How dare you don't answer me? I've been texting and calling all day.
What do you mean? I don't even have my phone. My wife is still in recovery.
You're a liar. You texted me earlier that you were going back to the surgery room.
Yeah, I did. But then I left my phone in the hospital room so that I could be emotionally supportive to my wife and not be on the phone during the birth of my child.
What? You mean you didn't even take a video of the surgery? I told everyone that I would have videos to post.
No, I didn't. And even if I did, they wouldn't be for Facebook.
I can't believe you. Don't talk to me that way. I can't believe that you would do this to me on my day.
Then I got tired of her and just hung up the phone mid-conversation. I then just didn't talk to her for a while and finally had time to get my phone back. I take some pictures of the baby and send them to my mom, hoping she was just being emotional earlier and give her a call.
Why would you do this to me?
Do what to you?
Push me away like this. It's been hours and I haven't been able to see the baby.
Huh? My wife is still in recovery. You're lucky I'm even able to send you pictures.
I don't care if she's still in recovery. I should be allowed to come see him. This is my day and you're ruining it.
Ma, listen. I love you, but you're not doing this to me today. I'll talk to you later. And I hung up again. Later that day, after my wife was back in the normal room and out of recovery, and she had been checked on multiple times and was able to get up and walk a little bit, we let my mom come see the baby. Remember, while she was in there, I had to leave the room due to COVID policy. The whole time she was in the room with the baby and my wife, she was complaining about how we pushed her out, left her in the dark, and ruined her day. And she kept me away from my baby by not leaving for more than an hour. I know that this isn't as radical as some of the other stories, but it's still entitled and narcissistic. And trust me, I have plenty more stories of my own mom being an entitled mother, but maybe more on that next time. No, trust me, my friend, this one's pretty bad. I'm surprised you even let her come at all. Your wife really took one for the team having to spend an hour in there with her. Just after a C-section too. It is incredible how she managed to convince herself so thoroughly that this day was somehow about her. I get that you're excited, but it's a hectic day for those involved. You need to be a little understanding, especially during COVID times. Things are a little more strict. Trust me, they're excited to share the news with you too. But if anyone's ruining the day, it's you. You made it all about yourself. It's just a jerk move. Our office drama queen gets a new BS lunchtime policy instated, so I use it to screw her over. Many years ago, I worked in back office support in a large office with lots of departments. Generally speaking, we had core hours, especially for lunch. Core lunch hours were between 12 to 2, meaning you had to take your lunch sometime between 12 to 2. Different departments had different rules for lunch, depending on their needs. For example, the call center was strict for when people could take their lunch, since they needed constant phone coverage. However, I was in back office support. Things were a lot more relaxed because we rarely took phone calls. Most of our work came in the form of tickets and tasks logged through our system, and emails from other departments with general inquiries. The only requirement was that at least one manager and 2 members of staff had to be there at all times. in case a colleague from another department needed to see us, or in an emergency, call us. So generally, we could take our lunch anytime we wanted, as long as it was between 12 and 2. There was no policy telling us when to take our lunch, aside from the one that I already mentioned. I would always take my lunch at 12:28. The reason was I actually wanted to take it at 12:30, but one of our call centers was the floor above us, and they stampeded down the stairs at 12:30. I had been in an accident some years ago that gave me issues with my back and hips, so I could be a little unsteady on the stairs. So I left at 12:28 so I could avoid the call center stampede. I suppose I could have gone at 12, but the staff canteen was never set up and never had food ready at 12, hence why I left at 12:28. Now, I always restarted work at exactly 1:28, sometimes a few minutes earlier. An hour was far too long for me. So I was often back at my desk nursing a coffee while scrolling through my phone around 1 p.m., which we were allowed to do as long as we were on break. However, if a colleague came up to me and asked for help, I always helped, and just added the time I was helping them to my lunch. So if I spent 10 minutes helping a colleague, I'd come back at 1:38. All this would be logged in our timesheet. I wasn't doing anything outside of policy. We were allowed to do this. Anyway, one of my colleagues had obviously noticed. Let's call her Mindy. Mindy considered herself the queen bee of the office. Everything had to be done her way. She was perfect and she always tattled on people for petty stuff. Like that one of our colleagues used too many staples, or that colleagues were literally a few minutes late, or took too many pee breaks. She literally had a tally of how many drinks and pee breaks everyone took so she could tattle. She even once tried to tattle and say one of my colleagues came in drunk, and she could smell it on her breath. What she could smell was Lemsip and cold meds. The colleague she was tattling on had a cold. Unfortunately, Mindy was also our manager's favorite employee, so she got away with a lot. So she tattles to our manager about how I'm always leaving for lunch 2 minutes early and yet often come back late. My manager tears me a new one for this. I explain to him that the times I come back late are when I've helped a colleague, and he should see it logged on the sheet. I also explain why I leave at 12:28. He then says, "Yes, well, whether it's 2 minutes or not, we have core hours in this office." I say, yeah, 12 to 2. I can take my lunch anytime between 12 and 2. 12:28 is within those core hours. So he then tried to say no. In our department, we have a policy of 12:30 to 1:30 to make sure enough people are in the department. I say, I've never heard of this policy. This has never been the case. But he brushes me off and says, "Take your lunch at 12:30 and come back at 1:30. You don't deal with any queries or anything that will delay you. Just take your lunch on time and come back on time. No exceptions." Okay then, that's exactly what I'll do. No matter what I'm doing, even if I'm in the middle of a task, I get up and go to lunch. Even if I'm at my desk and a colleague comes to me, I tell them I'm on lunch and to come back later. Then, surprise, surprise, Mindy comes along with an urgent query at 1:10. I look her dead in the eye and say, "Sorry, I'm on lunch." She storms off to our manager to tattle on me. I get called into his office because she had lodged a complaint against me for bullying her and being uncooperative. Mindy is in the office with my manager acting as a mediator. He asks why I refuse to help her. She's grinning maliciously with her trademark "you're gonna get it" face. She spoke to me at 1:10. I had 20 minutes left of lunch. You said the policy is lunch 12:30 to 1:30, no exceptions, I said, smiling. Mindy looked like she wanted to slap me, and my manager was furious, but knew he couldn't do or say anything because that was what he said. Eventually, the manager ended up being promoted and moved to another department. Our new manager had no patience for Mindy's excessive tattling, and at one point shouted at her, "This isn't primary school and I'm not your teacher. Go back to your desk and focus on your own work instead of everyone else." The new manager also rescinded the no exceptions BS policy my manager had made on the spot, and as long as we came back on time and didn't leave the department understaffed, she couldn't care less when we took our lunch. Sorry, Mindy. Maybe next time, don't be a jerk. I can only imagine how little work this woman got done around the office. She's keeping tallies of how much people drink and when they go to the bathroom. Come on, you're telling me there isn't better stuff you can be doing with your time? You're gonna sit there and be so judgmental of how others use their time when you're wasting your time doing this? I'm glad the new manager came in and called her on it right away. I wouldn't have any patience for that either. Hopefully now that she doesn't feel that she's being rewarded by the new manager for her information, she'll actually get to work and leave everyone else alone. I told my wife that if she wants the kids to sleep with her, then she can go sleep in their bed. My wife and I have been together for 6 years. She is a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. When we first got together, they were both still in her bed. They were both relatively small and I worked nights, so it was never an issue. Last year, I suffered a work injury and now have to sleep on a memory foam mattress. I assumed by now both kids would have grown out of co-sleeping, but obviously haven't. I can't comfortably sleep in a bed with 2 kids, especially because my stepson, the 9-year-old, is a little ninja. He's constantly kicking during the night. They'll occasionally sleep in their own beds, but very rarely. My stepdaughter is a little better, but my stepson will have meltdowns if we try and send him to his own bed. My wife doesn't believe we should force them out, which I understand, but I keep sleeping on the couch when they're in the bed. A couple of days ago, I blew up over it. My back's killing. I'm tired. I essentially told her to take the kids and sleep in one of their beds. I need the comfortable mattress for my back. We never really got to discuss it because stepson got upset and started crying. That night, she took the kids to her parents for the night, and back at home, she explained that they wouldn't all fit in one of the kids' beds. She agreed that I could have the big bed, but is ordering a memory foam mattress for our son's bed so I can sleep there comfortably. I don't want to sleep in a kid's bed. I want my bed, and I'd like to actually spend a night with my wife. Her parents are on her and the kids' side, obviously, but I still don't think I should have to give up my bed for them. In the nicest way possible, I paid for it. The issue is getting worse, and my in-laws are now calling me abusive for trying to take their comforts. So, am I the jerk? I don't think you're being a jerk at all. That's your space and you're perfectly entitled to it. The kids need to grow up a little bit and spend the night in their own room. It's not like they're infants anymore. It sounds like you've been incredibly patient up until this point, but it's entirely reasonable that you want to sleep in your bed. That's like a bare minimum. It's not really fair that you're being treated like the family dog that gets to sleep on the couch. A conversation definitely needs to happen with the kids here. And the grandparents have no business here. They have no right to call you abusive. If anything, you're doing this to help the kids. They shouldn't be doing this at their age, and they need to be more independent. An entitled customer was being ridiculously rude to a waiter, so I mixed her a nice, strong drink. A while ago, I was working for a popular restaurant chain. I was a bartender there, but frequently picked up serving shifts. Often, I was responsible for training our new employees, and honestly, I preferred training them so they knew how to do the job properly. As such, I was pretty much responsible for training the majority of our new hires, and because I spent their first few weeks at their side, I felt responsible for them. Anyway, one particular server I had was this sweet boy who was great with customers and would literally bend over backwards to please someone. I don't know if I've met anyone who cared about others like this since. As such, I felt particularly protective over this boy. One particular shift, I was bartending and he was serving a larger party that had been sat near my bar. I could overhear everything that was happening while he served them. The lady, who I assumed was the head of the party, would not give this kid a break and was constantly talking over him, asking for things that we never had on the menu. Of course, claiming she had it last time, giving him attitude for non-existent items, basic entitled customer nonsense. I could see this server was visibly becoming flustered with the table, but unfortunately in food, that's what you have to learn to deal with. The turning point for me was when she snapped at the server over a birthday song. Our establishment does not sing happy birthday to tables. However, we do offer a free sundae. The server explained this, but she was not having it. He even very politely offered to sing, but warned her it would only be him singing as the other servers likely wouldn't join in. She was incredibly rude to him about this, and I was behind the bar fuming. As he finally goes to ring in their entree order, she rudely asks him for another mojito, saying that I hadn't made it properly. Another thing to note is that our location is next to a hockey stadium, so based off whether we have a game or not, we'll prepare drinks in different glasses. I hadn't been thinking and had made the drink in the wrong glass, so of course I was fine remaking it in a proper glass. She might have been a witch, but I did use the wrong glass for a non-game day. Apparently, she thought she deserved more alcohol since I made a mistake. She sent the drink back and ordered my server to tell me to give her more liquor. One thing you never tell a bartender to do, make my drink stronger. So, of course, I remade her mojito with 0 alcohol, except for 2 drops of rum down her sip straw. She certainly enjoyed her stronger drink and even ordered 2 more. Hope you enjoyed paying almost $30 for 3 drinks with maybe a quarter ounce of liquor altogether. Don't mess with my servers or insult my drinks, jerk. Yeah, entitled people who are rude to people that work in customer service are just the worst. It's like they've never had to be humble a day in their lives. I've never worked in the restaurant industry, but I can imagine when you have people getting all drunk and rowdy and things like that, it must be 10 times worse. This seems totally fair and justified. You probably saved the waiter a lot of extra grief by not letting her get drunk. I made my entitled nephew cry at his birthday party after he was rude about the gifts he received. I'm a 26-year-old female. My sister, 29, has a son, Eric, and he's 8 years old. I don't visit a lot, we live far away, but I see them and most of my family at birthdays and holidays. When I visit, I usually buy Eric a toy or some candy, as he's my only nephew. To be honest, I like to spoil him. And maybe I'm a little bit to blame for what happened too. It was Eric's birthday this week. I visited them and brought him a nice car toy. The car was quite big and had lights and stuff. When I got to the party, I wished him a happy birthday and handed him the gift. He opened it and loved it. He said, "So far, this is the best one," which at the time, I thought he was just excited. But with what happened later, I kinda get the idea it was more maliciously intended. So an hour or so after the party started, when everyone had already arrived, Eric made an announcement to the table in which the adults were sitting. He said that I've won and that I was now the person who he loved the most because my gift was the one he liked the most. I thought it was sweet that he liked it. Then he told my mom that her gift sucked. She brought him a board game, so he didn't love her anymore. He also told one of his friends that next year he won't be invited because his gift was bad too. He'd gifted him a set of dinosaur figures. I think this whole thing of ranking the gifts people got him was pretty crappy. I expected my sister or her husband to say something, but they didn't. They just laughed. So I told Eric that he's not supposed to say that about his gifts. People get them what they can, and he should be grateful with that. He said that he doesn't understand why he has to love people who don't buy him nice gifts. I genuinely can't believe my sister is teaching this bull to her son. His dad told him, "Yeah, they should all give you the best." So I then again told him that a person's worth is not about how expensive or big the gift they got him was, and that if he thought that way, then I will not be continuing to buy him gifts. Eric started to cry. My sister told me off because I made him cry, but most of my family and some of her in-laws were on my side and told them it was bad to teach their kids such things. Our mom was quite affected, and I wanted to leave too, so we left after that. My sister texted me later to call me a jerk for leaving before the candles were blown, and for telling her child he won't get any more gifts from me. She said that I shouldn't make empty threats to a child. I said that it's not empty, and it's not a threat. It's a promise until they teach their kids some manners. Am I wrong for discussing this when my nephew was present? Am I being unreasonable to him since he's young? And would I be wrong in the future if I keep my promise and don't buy him a gift the next time we see each other? At the end of the day, I don't want to be a jerk to the kid. No, I don't think you did anything wrong here. Someone had to say it. It should have been mom and dad, but heck, if they're not stepping up to the plate, maybe he'll listen to you since you're his new favorite. Also, you hold the power of the good presence. You have sway over him that no one else does. Seriously though, I don't understand how the parents don't correct this entitled behavior. No one likes a snobby little brat. I know all parents think their kids are the greatest, but you still need to raise them to be a decent human being. You want them to have the best? Then they can't have people hating them all the time because they're entitled snobs. That's on you, mom and dad. You need to teach those lessons. My boyfriend absolutely flipped out because I ate all the toppings off of his pizza. Earlier tonight, I ordered a Hawaiian pizza with my boyfriend. We've only been dating a month, so it's the first time I ate pizza with him. We only finished about half and then we went to watch TV. I was still hungry, so I ate all the toppings off the pizza. When he saw, he absolutely flipped out. He said that he was saving it for lunch tomorrow, and that he had never met anyone who would do something like this, and was just generally really upset. I thought he was joking and laughed it off, but it's been a couple of hours and he's still upset. He's talking about how he was looking forward to having the leftover pizza for lunch, and now I've ruined his lunch. I offered to buy him another pizza, but he kept saying that it wasn't about that, and I just ruined his day. Is he overreacting or am I the jerk? Well, I hope you learned your lesson. Never come between a man and his pizza. Seriously though, you're some kind of monster. Why would you just eat the toppings off the pizza if you're still hungry? Just eat a slice of pizza. You've literally ruined the rest of the food just so you can have a few snack-sized bites? I just don't understand the logic here. I mean, at least you offered to buy him another pizza. Maybe he is overreacting here. I mean, I would probably just laugh this off. But I agree that most normal people wouldn't have done what you did. So gotta side with him on this one. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, linked at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot, linked in the description as well. Either way, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.